Hello everyone, Nina here. Thanks for joining me. Today we will create together a 2-page mixed media art journal using Art by Marlene Rainbow Journal. I took one of the inserts from inside and I'm using my hands to cut an edge all around it to give this beautiful vintage look. So let's move to the next step and let's just begin. A quick look at the Rainbow Journal. This is sort of a binder with elastic bands, and inside each of the elastic band from the insides a little booklet of inserts. Some of them are lined papers and the others are art journal mixed media papers that are very heavy and perfect for today's project. So I just use my hands to cut all around the edges, making sure that I like to leave the pointy corners. I want to leave the corners pointy. I don't want it to be round. So this is how it looks. Look how beautiful. And then we're going to move to the next step to create the background. To create the background, we will be using acrylic paint. So we want to protect the lower pages. We don't want it to get smudged or any of the acrylic paints. So I'm just adding these papers and securing them with washi tape. We're using these two colors from Art by Marlene acrylic paints. I'm going to leave it linked down below along with all the materials and the tools that I'm going to be using today in the description if you want to check any of them. Here we're using one of Art by Marlene's paint brushes. It's totally dry. I will just keep applying the paint here and there. I want the background to have more of the cream color and just a hint of the pink color. So I am adding a lot more cream than the pink, and I'm just keeping to make these strokes up and down and left and right until I am totally happy with how the page looks like. Don't worry, this is just the first layer. We are going to add stenciling on top, and we are going to add embossing paste. So this is just the very primary layer. To make sure that the whole paint is properly dry, I'm using my heat gun to dry it properly, and then I'm adding a little embossing paste on top of my glass mat, and then I'm adding the sand color from Art by Marlene acrylic paints and mixing it with the embossing paste until I get this beautiful color. And I am using one of Art by Marlene advent calendar masks and the stencils. I love the stencil a lot. It has this beautiful round coffee cup prints working perfect with this vintage look that we're going for. And then another stencil again from the same advent calendar set. And here I'm using a little bit more of the sand paint on the embossing paste to make it a little darker, mixing them together, and then using the applicator to add it on my stencil to give this beautiful braised texture on my 2 pages. Look how beautiful. Again, I'm using my heat gun to make sure that the paste is totally dry. Don't forget to always be very creative and use different color with the embossing paste so you don't always end up with the white embossing paste on your pages. I wanted my edges to be a little more defined, so I'm using Tattered Rose over here. It's the Oxide Distress ink. I'm using one of the blending brushes from Art by Marlene, and just around the edges, I'm gonna go all around the edges of both the pages to give this beautiful color, texture, vintage look. Again, I'm gonna come after that with a vintage photo, the same technique, and even like a little lighter just to the edge than the Tattered Rose. And it defines the edges. Look how beautiful it is. Later I will find that they did fade away a little bit once everything was dry, and I'm gonna come again and add more of the vintage photo all around the edges again. Here I'm using the stencil on the same spots where I used it on before. I'm just adding a darker shade over here. I love the stencil so much. Look at all the texture, the visual texture that it gives. Really beautiful. Here, then I am going to use my rubber stamps. These are doodle stamps. Hey, as I told you last time, this box, my kid, Joopy, 3D prints these boxes and he sells them. I will leave the link down below if you want to support him and buy any of them. These doodles, I am going to stamp them again with a vintage photo, distress ink. I love this dotted one so much. I think it works so much with this vintage look that I'm going for on this project today. And I will keep taking more and more of these little rubber stamps and adding some stamping here and there until I'm happy with both my pages. The next step, I did stamp these little bottles using the Magic Potion stamp set from Art by Marlene. And then I'm going to use my acrylic markers and I'm going to color these gems and everything with the same colors that I think are matching so far with my background. If I want to change it later, I will change it later. I'm so sorry that I lost the coloring over here. I used a lot of techniques and I was really showing it very close to the camera and I was making sure that you're following one by one, step by step, but then I lost the footage. I don't know, I couldn't find the video on my phone at all. Probably it just ran out of charge, ran out of storage. So I will try to color the same way on the next on some other coming videos, and I'm gonna show you step by step how I did color it. And look how I added these white little dots inside the bottles to give it the Magic Potion sort of look. Look how beautiful it is. Anyways, to move on, I decided to add this vintage photo all around the edges of my cutouts of my stamped images. Let me bring the other bottle so you can see the difference between how it was in the vintage look and without. Look over here, I did add the vintage photo on one side of the butterfly. You can easily see that this is way more vintage than the other one. Here I'm trying to assemble how I want everything to look. I want to give the little girl these butterfly wings. They look so beautiful and they match so much. The girl is from one of the very first paper element booklets. I used her again all around the edges with the vintage photo. I then cut to ground her and make her sit on this little hill. I did bring it, just cut with my hand a little scrap of paper and then used the same vintage photo with the blending brushes and colored all around it. And then I'm using my paintbrush to give these little strokes and give these little dots here and there on my page and on the hill. And then I'm going to back my bottles and the girl with foam tape so they are a little raised from everything else that is going to be on my pages. I did add the butterfly in the very middle part of the butterfly where her wings begins. It's gonna stick directly to the page, and the rest of it the rest of the wings I'm gonna have some of the double foam tape, so it's a little bit raised. That looks like it's flying. And then here is the part where I add another layer of the vintage photo to define all around the edges. For the tiny part of my coat, I did cut the strips of the same paper that I used for the hill under the girl, and I added my coats on top of it, and I'm again giving the vintage photo, defining the edges again the same way. I usually love to add my coat. This is the way I like to arrange my coat. I first make sure that everything is where I want it to be, and then I take piece by piece and then glue it with my reverse tweezers and then return it exactly where it is. That way I make sure that everything is gonna fall where I want it to be. I'm gonna take my time and stick every piece of these letters, and the whole coat will say, "You are the magic you seek." I love it so much. And here to add a little bit more of a magical touch to the whole page, I am using my new Golden Stencil Paste to add this beautiful smoke coming out, swirl coming out of the white bottle. And again, I thought I'll add touches from it, accents here and there on my page using the same gold paste. on the gem that she's holding. If you noticed, she was holding a heart over here. We did cut it away at the beginning of the video, and I replaced it with the gem. This is the same gem that is on top, the same like rock on top of the blue bottle. I did stamp it again, and I colored the same color from her like cheeks and her flowers. And then again, I diluted a little bit of the golden stamp paste, and using it here and there on the hell under her. But I diluted it so much, so it gives just a shimmer. It doesn't give a thick opaque color. So it's just giving a shimmer here and there. And I thought I'll do the same thing on the letters on my coat, and I will show you in a bit. And then I thought if the swirl coming out is so golden and shimmery, the bottle liquid itself should be shimmery. So I added a little shimmer also on the liquid inside. And then I thought for a final touch, I'll add the same shimmer all around the edges of my mixed media layout. And look how shiny everything is. I love it so much. This beautiful new paste is just so magical, added so much to my page. And once I finished everything, I thought that I'll add a little bit here and there of the same diluted paste. And look how everything looks. Very shimmery, very magical. I love it so much. All the images, all the texture, it's really, really beautiful. I had so much fun creating these two pages today with you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed today's little project. Do not forget to like and subscribe. Also comment below which technique that I used today that you liked the most. And I will leave you now with the images. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye!